Hometown Solutions. I'm your host, Jean Newell, and in the studios with me today is Jonathan Lack. Hello, Jonathan.
Hello, Jean.
My co-host with the most.
Well, thank you.
Jonathan is a great host because he has so many topics we can talk about. He is an attorney, a real estate attorney with Lack & Lack Chartered. He also owns Waterview Title Services and is the broker owner of Waterview Realty. So there's not much out there about real estate that you don't have the answer to.
Well, I'd like to think so.
I always say that. And as you know, my favorite expression is I have all the answers. I just don't know what questions they go to. So there we go. And in the studios with us today for our holiday shows this month and is our favorite mortgage person and in studio guest and with Certified Mortgage Planners. Welcome again, Carolyn.
Thank you, Jean and John. Glad to be here.
Well, we're coming up on the holidays. Of course, today is December 19th, 2016, in case you're listening to our online archives. So we're anxious to find out what the new year's going to bring. And so that's kind of where we're going to go with the show today. We're going to talk about mortgages. We're going to talk a little bit about what we think the new year's going to bring to real estate. Maybe just some interesting topics that we've had people ask us about. So on with the show. Carolyn, let's start with you.
Okay.
What are you seeing happening with the rates right now? I know you never can tell what they're going to do, but how do you feel the outlook looks for January?
I think the outlook actually is still looking very well. The inauguration will be on, I think, the 20th, if that doesn't land on a Sunday. I am very optimistic as far as where the rates are. We are still historically in low interest rates, so I'm feeling pretty positive about what the new year brings. Of course, it's always kind of hard to tell what things will happen, but if it continues to be where it's at right now, I think we're still going to be in a great position.
Well, that's great because, everybody always kind of sits around wondering what's going to happen with a new election year and so forth, but it seems to be quite positive right now. We see that the stock market seems to be pretty settled, and we don't see any anticipation of anything like that. But how about you, Jonathan? What are you seeing and happening in real estate right now? It's getting to the point where I don't think we can close any loans yet this month with mortgage loans, but how have you seen your activity in real estate and closings?
Well, the outlook for the coming year, I think, is positive. We've had a steady increase in both inventory and closings. Now, again, it's too late really to get any new contracts in for the end of this year, but we are already starting to gather things for next year. And again, I'm optimistic that 2017 is going to be a very good year in the real estate market.
I know I was doing some research online today, and we've really been seeing nationally an increase anywhere from 3% up to 7% nationwide, and I believe the national medium price range was 226, which is pretty close to in line for what it is here on the Space Coast. And we've been seeing some increases, nice steady increases. But I've noticed in the last week, the traffic has really about tripled. Have you noticed that too, Jonathan?
Well, welcome to Florida.
Yes.
Right.
I didn't think, usually it doesn't start this early, but with all these big storms and so forth that they've been having, I think everybody's decided to come a little earlier to Florida instead of waiting until January or February.
Yeah, it's again, I'm born and raised here in Florida and go through this every year around this time where I'm like, oh yeah, traffic.
Yes.
Making that left turn out of my office takes a little bit longer than it does in the summer.
There's another way we can go down A1A, and I've been turning right and going down Oak instead of trying to get down a left turn on A1A because it is a little tough.
Yeah, it's that time of year, but that said, all of you Northerners, all of you snowbirds, we welcome you, and please come and visit, and we enjoy your company, notwithstanding the traffic problems you may cause.
I like the way you said that. Although our show is national, we welcome everyone listening in. We have a lot of people from Tennessee listening in and the New York area, New Jersey. We try to make our show as generic as possible because we have some great tips. But, of course, since we are here on the Space Coast in Florida, and that's Brevard County, sometimes known as the Space Coast, which includes cities like Cocoa Beach, Melbourne Beach, Satellite Beach, we try to make it specific for this area as well. However, anything that you would like to know, you're always welcome to get in touch with us. We do have a website specifically directed to our radio show, which is called yourhometownsolutions.com. So if you go there, you can pick up a lot of our information that we talk about. You can also ask for this free magazine that we have that talks about selling your home, buying a home, getting a mortgage, inspection information, just about anything you can think of regarding real estate, and that's called Extra Equity. And you can order that. It's free. We'll send it to you, give you some great ideas on how to get started looking for that new home for maybe the new year, 2017. Wow.
I know.
So on that note, Carolyn?
Yes.
Right now, a lot of people have other things on their mind besides maybe going in for a mortgage. However, maybe they need to write this on their calendar. Things they should be doing maybe right now or thinking about doing before they start out there searching for a new home. New home meaning it could be a resale. It doesn't have to be a brand new built home, but we use a new residence, I think we should probably call it instead of new home. What are those things that people ought to be thinking about? Let's talk first about first-time home buyers. What could they be doing right now before they start getting excited about buying that new home?
Okay. Thank you, Jean. I do want to point out my license number.
Oh, yes.
I'm Carolyn Wolf at Certified Mortgage, and my license number is 268538. And as far as first-time home buyers, or really for anybody, even in December, it's a great time to kind of get your finances together or start thinking. As far as us as lenders, I always welcome anybody to talk to me, call me, go online, fill out a loan application, because we can cross-check credit just to make sure maybe there's something on there that we could do a quick fix to help improve your credit score, to better, interest rate and terms, or something might have just kind of popped up that you weren't aware of. We can have time to work on. So it's never a bad idea to talk with a financial person for a mortgage, even 6 months before you're even thinking to buy, and we can kind of give you the tips and give you the steps on what to do so you don't end up doing something that maybe you didn't need to do.
Right. It's kind of shooting themselves in the foot.
Right.
And right now with the holidays coming up, people are probably pulling out that credit card.
Right.
Or buying that new car for the family and getting a loan on that new car. And those are the things that will mess them up come January when they're out there looking for a new loan. So those are the kind of things. If they do, let's say, have their credit maxed out, how many months does it take to kind of maybe undo that credit hit, if you want to call it that? Do they need to just bring everything down to less than 30% per credit card, or what do they need to do to kind of counteract if they've maxed out all their cards at the Christmas, Hanukkah holidays?
That's a great question. Okay, so if it is a revolving credit card, this is one of the little misnomers that we are all not aware of. If you exceed your allowable limit by 30%, it jacks up our interest rate. So if you're able to pay down your credit cards to a 30% or less allowable limit, so for example, if you have a $10,000 limit, you want to get your balance down below the $3,000 mark on all of the credit cards. And within 30 days or whenever those credit revolving accounts actually report to the credit bureaus, it will bump up your credit score. However, if you're buying something like a car, you get an installment loan, those can take a little bit of time to bounce back up, generally 6 months to a year. But if you're still in a good credit score range and you buy a car, then you should be okay as far as being able to get financing.
What if you have a car and you trade it in and you get a new car, and of course you end up with new financing for the new car, but you had financing on the old car, you were paying on it regularly, and maybe the new car payment's a couple dollars more or less or the same, but does the fact that it's a new debt create a problem for you?
It does. It will lower your credit score with the initial start of it, because it's a new debt. So your score goes down a little bit until you can, quote unquote, prove that you're able to make those payments on that new debt.
Okay. Notwithstanding, do you not get any benefit from having paid off the old debt?
You do, to a point. That's already in there. As long as you've had that auto loan or that installment loan for at least 12 months, it'll bump up your credit.
So you'll get a little boost for the paying off of the old loan, but you'll get a bigger hit for the acquiring of the new debt.
Yes.
And so the net gain is a loss.
Yeah, and we don't so much get much of a boost when we pay something off, unfortunately.
Really?
It's more just the payment history and paying on time.
Okay.
I
Very
have
good.
a
Thank
question
you.
along those lines too. When you're shopping for a car and you go from one dealer to another, they pull your credit. Is it still a negative thing when people start pulling your credit and you get a hit on your credit every time they pull your credit line?
It can. It depends on what you're
history.
doing. I know they have tried to put in steps so when people are doing car loans, because it does happen quite a bit, even in one dealer where they're constantly hitting your credit. I do believe that they have put in steps to consider that just one hit, because it was really damaging a lot of people, because you could be in a dealership and have 5 different lenders be pulling your credit. So as long as it's done within a small period of time, even with the mortgage, if you're shopping for a mortgage or you've already had somebody pull, as long as you do it within 30 days, it doesn't affect your credit.
Okay, that brings up a question I have, and I always support you, Carolyn, as a mortgage broker as opposed to a lender, and we've talked about that on other shows with regard to the difference between a lender and a broker. But is it accurate to say that when somebody comes to you, you will pull their credit and that will have the appropriate hit for shopping for a mortgage? But then when you shop it around to other lenders, do those lenders also pull the credit, or do you send the credit you pulled, thus limiting the effect of that shopping?
Good question. It's just our credit report.
Okay, so
no matter how many
yet
people,
another advantage of
right,
using a mortgage broker over
right,
a lender. So when you've gone to the car dealership, they're not acting as a broker per se. They're calling lenders and they're shopping around to 4 different lenders to get you the best deal.
Right.
So your credit has been pulled 4 different times when you've walked into that finance office
right,
of them, as opposed to walking into your office and you pull it once and send the information to the 4 lenders.
Correct.
Very good.
But I did hear they are trying to make steps to.
Right. Then that makes sense, because
Yes.
you got 4 pulls in one
Yes.
day. It doesn't mean you're buying 4 cars.
I've even seen 13, believe it or not, on a
Wow.
credit.
And again, I don't want to put you on the spot if you don't know, but is there a numerical value to that? In other words, you put your credit, I pulled your credit, that's 5 points or 15 points, or if there's not, that's okay.
There's not. I don't know specific scientific or the exact and how they do it, because to be honest, too, even the credit bureaus, when I try to call them, it's very it's not clear. It's
FICO's
very
kept that
gray.
very
yes.
secret.
But it can be for a car loan, a good 30 points.
30?
Yes.
Okay. So
yeah.
That's
I would say
significant.
anywhere between 20 and 40 points, depending.
What is the credit score right now considered good or excellent? What is
Some
it?
lenders it's 740 and some it's 760.
Okay.
And that's for the excellent credit.
Excellent,
and
right.
Again, you see these commercials
good.
now out there, and I don't want to advertise any other commercials, but you see all these commercials with checking your credit scores and things like that. And it is important, and you see the numbers they show on the screen.
Right.
So 740 to 60 and up is considered the excellent credit.
Right.
And then is it 700 to 740 considered, the kind of good? And then for those who are in the unfortunately lower credit bracket, what are the numbers that are fair, bad, and you're in trouble?
Below 720 to 620, 640 is okay.
Okay.
Below the 620 is
You're in a little trouble.
a little bit of trouble. Let's see what we can try to do to get that better. But we do have options, and you just narrow your options. That's the only thing, is you're going to narrow your options and your choices. So the better the credit, the more options you have as a consumer. And I did want to point out, because I get this all the time when I'm interviewing people and I'm getting ready to pull their credit. When we, as a mortgage broker, when I am talking to you and I have a notification and we are pulling credit, getting your authorization to pull it does not affect your credit score. It will not affect your score.
Okay. Why is that? Why do I thought, as most of the general public, that it did.
Right.
So why am I wrong?
Because we are technically, for mortgages, you're shopping. Not everybody can get a mortgage.
Okay.
Whereas honestly, with car loans, a lot of people, you can pretty much get one. I mean, they have programs for just about anybody to get a car loan. So it's a little bit different in that retrospect. But for a mortgage, as long as you have us pulling it, it does not affect your score, because it's considered kind of a shop, and it's within 30 days.
Well, we've talked in the past. Right now, before I forget, though, I want everyone to take their pencil out and write down Carolyn Wolf, and that's Carolyn, Carolyn, and